Welcome everyone. Chintan Barwara here from CMA Australia. I'll be the host of this webinar and I will also be the speaker for this webinar. So it's a bit of two roles into one this time. A little bit about myself. So I've been with CMA Australia for nearly 2 or 3 years. I've also been associated with CMA Australia for nearly 15 years in one capacity or the other. I have done senior manager roles at a lot of government organizations and professional associations. Currently with CMA Australia, I am the Chief Operating Officer for Australia and New Zealand. I also look after the business development function. So yes, I'm a qualified accountant and I mainly love doing business development, marketing and operations work. So that's kind of a little bit about myself as I'll be introducing myself as well. What we've got today is a topic for sustainable marketing. Now, it's close to my heart, and I do really believe that this is the way to go because not only we need to look after the planet, but also the communities involved as well. Just before we start up on that webinar, the rules of the webinar remains the same as a few of you guys have attended last time. We will have around about 30 to 40 minutes of presentations, and we will then open it up for question and answer. I have enabled the chat function as well as a Q&A function in Zoom. So if you have any questions, you want to chat to me, or you can send me a message on that, you can do either ways. I will take all the questions once we finish the presentation. In terms of other housekeepings, please be mindful that this won't be country specific, but I will be taking a lot of examples from a lot of different countries and continents. So it might not relate to your company, but I'll make sure that it ties into the work that you do as well. Yeah, that's about it, I think, and I think we can ready to start. What also I would like to mention is, as last time, we will be recording this webinar, and a webinar recording link will be sent to everyone who registered, probably sometime tomorrow. So you can go and view the webinar a few times if you like, if you find the content interesting. Perfect. So let's get started with the session here. I'll share my screen, which will make it a little better. Okay, so I hope you guys can see my screen nice and clear. If you are not able to, can you just put in on the chat function there that you're not able to do that? So I can probably come to know on that one, or even on the Q&A box, that's fine. So let's get started with sustainable marketing. Now, as the topic and the heading says that sustainable marketing, it's more about an ideology, it's more about practice, it's more about a mindset. It's not just a green word at what we have seen in the past, probably say 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. Everybody wanted to be sustainable, and sustainable was synonymous with green marketing. We had a lot of issues with the green marketing initiatives. A lot of companies has been caught out by some of the initiatives they've taken, and consumers are not dumb. Consumers are quite intelligent, and it actually it's been called out a number of times where companies are doing the wrong thing. So please make sure that you understand the mindset, and it actually needs buy-in from all levels of management. If you're trying to do something like this, you can start the initiative. However, you need to have buy-in from different levels of management to even go through the process of being a sustainable marketing exercise. So let's get started with that one. Now, with sustainable marketing, in simple terms, it becomes as easy as what you're doing is you're enabling a sustainable community. Now, you might want to ask a question saying, why do we need sustainable communities? You know, is it really that important? Now, in this time of COVID-19, we've seen that everybody's working from home, everybody's impacted, not only one country, one continent, but the entire world has been impacted. It has had different impacts on supply chains, the way we actually work, the way we buy, the consumer behavior, the way we run our finances, government funding, and other things along those sides. So it takes a lot out from a community perspective. So I believe that sustainable marketing should equate to sustainable communities in the long run. So sustainable marketing is a thread of a larger fabric of the sustainable community development that meets the desires of today without conceding the capability of future generations to meet their own needs. In simple terms, if you look after the planet today, if you look after your communities today, it will take you in the longer run. And also it makes sure that our kids and the future generations that we've got have something to share. What we're going to do in this session is looking at a holistic view of sustainable marketing. I will give you some examples of what not to do. And also I'm going to look at opportunities with companies currently, what they have, some of the downfalls of how people are actually doing it, and also look at how it actually changes the consumer behavior and the trends. What it also means is that you need to rethink the conventions of how business is actually done. You need to rethink why things are done. You need to ask the question why, which is the most important question in the entire piece of things. The reason why is that it impacts every bit of information coming across from sustainable initiatives, especially from the profit and loss statements, from economical or financial concerns, and different approaches as well. So sometimes initiatives might cost a bit of money. Sometimes it actually might not cost a bit of money. It absolutely impacts the bottom line. So as senior managers and management accountants, we need to make sure that we understand that part. And it's a very important part as well, because everything relates. You need to ask the question. If you don't ask the question, it actually doesn't work. So you need to make sure that you do. So in today's presentation, we're going to keep it very simple. We're going to look at some definitions of sustainable marketing and marketing in general. I'll look at some bad examples, examples where actually are massive fails. We'll look at one good example, and I can give you some ideas of what other companies have been doing in this space. Also identify sustainable practices linked to initiatives, and we will wrap it up with some key takeaways. Now, just to be clear, what this means in the terms of sustainable marketing is that every time you see somebody or you have a meeting for marketing related initiatives, you should have sustainably on your back of your mind, because that's going to drive the questions of why, as why we're not doing this. Did we ask the question as why we're not promoting certain way? Did we ask the question why, as this is not produced in a certain way? Did you ask the question why, as why has waste not been recycled? So being on the table, being in the company that you're working, at whatever capacity you are, you actually have the ability to take the conversation forward, especially with marketing staff, especially with senior management, that this is something that the way it should be. Now, I would probably classify this as when somebody will ask a question saying, oh, what do you do? Now, when you introduce ourselves, we always say, oh, I'm an accountant, or I'm into marketing, or I'm into advertising. One thing that actually struck me, I was at a conference last year, or we don't have any conferences anymore because of the COVID situation, but I was at a conference last year, and I met a young lady who said, I asked saying, oh, okay, what do you do? And Jane replied back saying, oh, I'm into marketing, but I only do sustainable marketing. So that actually caught my eye, saying, there are different strands of marketing I can understand, like direct marketing, above the line, below the line, and things of that sort. But why do you actually pinpoint sustainable marketing? And Jane was very helpful explaining on that front. He's saying that, look, we do all the marketing. Our firm is a sustainable, conscious firm. And most of our marketing staff and most of the initiatives that we take are sustainable practices. So instead of saying I'm just a marketer, I would actually define myself as a sustainable marketer. Now, that actually brings me to the point where the definitions are as simple as marketing is the action or business of promoting and selling products or services, including market research and advertising. Very broad. It encompasses everything in terms of sales, business development, and the whole gamut of things. That's fine. But when it comes to sustainable marketing, for me, sustainable marketing is a plan that has sustainability built between the practice and the product itself. So it's a mindset. It's a mindset where if you are a marketing staff or if you're a senior manager making marketing decisions or intersecting with marketing decisions, you need to look at sustainable marketing in a way that it intersects products, services, and the mindset from top to bottom. So I like that analogy. So when you ask the question, when everybody's seen movies for 007, and when he introduces himself, he doesn't say James Bond. He says, Bond, my name is Bond, James Bond. So the same way, I hope that in the near future, we will have marketers always introduce themselves as I'm a marketer, but I'm a sustainable marketer. That actually makes more sense. That actually gives you more validity of the things you do and more worthwhile aspect of recognition as well. So what should we do? Before we jump into what should we do, let's look at what we should not do. Right now, over the last 5 years, you don't have to go far. Even if you go, say, probably last 10 years ago, when the green movement actually started around about 10 or 15 years ago. Everybody wanted to be green. Everybody wanted to have green products. Everybody wanted to be a sustainable company or have sustainable initiatives, biodiversity and all the kind of things as well came into play probably 10, 12 years ago. And it spread. It spread really, really widely, and a lot of companies were caught. Now let's look at some of the companies that were caught and what you should not do. That gives you a flavor of what the downfalls are. One of the famous cases in sustainable marketing is the environmentally friendly straw. Now, if you know McDonald's, biggest fast food chain, in the UK, they actually use 1.8 million straws a day. That's a lot of plastic straws, right? Now, in the move to become eco-friendly, McDonald's announced that it would cut plastic straws from its location in the UK and Ireland, replacing them with paper alternatives. Brilliant idea. You're not using plastic, but you're using paper. Absolutely great, right? So instead of using all of these, they had a big, massive promotion. They actually did a lot of advertising based on that, saying, hey, look at me, look at the competitors, they're not doing anything of this sort. But you know, we are very environmentally conscious people, and we are actually going to be taking it a step forward where we're actually not going to give you plastic straws, but we're actually going to give you paper straws. What happened? There's a massive fail. Now, you would think a company like McDonald's, which has all the resources possibly you can imagine, would actually be quite good at that. But, you know, customers are not fools. They can't fool the customer once, twice, thrice. And there will be somebody who actually pinpoints the problems with that. When you actually take the straw, when you take it from the wrapper, the customers were told to put them in general waste. Now, as we know, anything that goes to general waste goes into the tip, into the dumping yard. Now, that's a bit different. Even though it's a piece of paper, it cannot be recycled. So you're actually increasing dumping of general waste. So what they actually had was, they had single-use plastic straws, which were actually recyclable, right? So if you put it into the recycle bin, you could actually recycle it and make another piece of plastic from that. And the way you go, you keep on recycling that. So there's an increased lifespan for the product. But what happened was, because this was not plastic, you can't recycle it. You actually had to put in general waste. What are the drawbacks from that? If it's not recycled and it goes to general waste, yep, okay, it's biodegradable, that's fine. But the problem is that you're actually cutting down a lot more trees for the paper that the straws are going to be made. So these become disposable straws, and you've got to cut a lot more trees and to make it actually a worthwhile initiative. So if you look at it this way, it actually costs more. It actually gives them bad publicity, and it has a fury of customers that has an issue with increasing waste and cutting down paper. So the message from all of that mainly is that don't destroy trees to save the ocean. Saving the ocean is absolutely necessary. We see a lot of plastics, bottles, straws, and everything in the ocean. The waste that comes on the beach, it's ridiculous. How can people even think like that? However, in most countries, as we know, there are a lot of initiatives where recycling of plastic has been initiated, and a lot of times it works as well. So you need to make sure that even a company like McDonald's fell into this trap where it's not double checking the facts or how it's going to be perceived. It's just not saying that, yes, we are sustainable or environmentally friendly, because that's the cool way to do it, right? So you've got to make sure that you understand that part very well. Now, this was one of the biggest fails, according to me. Let's look at some other products that you probably might be aware of. Okay, so Huggies Pure and Natural. Everybody knows what Huggies diapers are. And this was probably 3 or 4 years ago. Huggies, in the pursuit of being environmentally friendly, they got a product which I call greenwashing, which is they use the same product item, and in the packaging, they use all the green stuff like green leaves and gardens and everything else, and make it look greener than what it is. Now, what they said was, our Huggies nappies, Pure and Natural, are so environmentally friendly, and they actually put a piece of cotton. I'm not joking. The piece of cotton here, they actually put a piece of cotton and said, oh, we're using cotton, which is actually much more user-friendly, environmentally friendly, things of that sort. It is absolutely not the case. The piece of cotton was only on the top of the packet. There was nothing else green. The product was nearly 95% the same. They claimed that it didn't have any artificial things inside it, or no chemicals and artificial things inside it. But when you actually test it out, it was found that it was the same nappy, probably 95% the same of the nappy, which were put to general waste. So what's the point of doing that? So consumers did make a big fuss about it on social media, and it had a really bad name. It was put out of the shelves quite a few months later. Okay, Fiji water, one of the most expensive waters that you get in the bottled water aisle in your supermarkets. And it says that every drop is green. Massive marketing campaign, right? Massive advertising budget spent on that. And no doubt, every drop is green. However, what it was found that the plastic that they use was not actually green. And the way it was manufactured, most of the manufacturing was done by coal-fired power plants and not solar energy. So it wasn't actually that green, right? So it actually says in there that carbon emissions and green forests and other things. This is again an example of greenwashing, where you put words in there that you want to identify yourself with, but it actually doesn't work. And people will call you out for that. Again, this campaign was dismantled by Fiji Water, and there was a massive loss write-off for Fiji Water as well. Now, this is a classic example for Sun Chips. Now, this is, I think, if I'm not wrong, this would be Frito-Lay's, which actually own this brand Sun Chips in certain markets. They came up with a brilliant idea. So it might be a case where you would have 5 or 10 production people, marketing people, and other people coming on the table discussing, let's make this product more environmentally friendly, and we can have some good home runs from that. One of the things I did, what the problem was with that is that, the wrapper was of plastic or plastic material, They actually made the wrapper, the packaging made from plant-based material. So absolutely brilliant idea, right? Biodegradable, plant-based material, so it can be no harm to the environment, no problems at all. Absolutely brilliant idea. They launched this in the market. When they launched this, then the first people started opening the packet. When they actually opened the packet of chips, you just open the packet of chips like that, the sound it made, because there's an absolutely super tight glue for the plant-based material, that it made such a loud noise that people could not hear, at least for a couple of seconds after they opened the packet. The loud noise that came out of it. Now, can you imagine that? You're doing it everything for the right reasons. You are actually saving the environment. You are doing a good marketing campaign. However, the product was rejected from consumers because it was not convenient. And the convenience was that when I open the packet, I actually can't hear, it's actually dumbing sound that comes from it when you open the packet. It's a good example. It didn't have any other information on it saying, oh, we're using plant-based material for packaging, which is more environmentally friendly. Brilliant idea, but it actually doesn't work. So make sure when you do your testing, when you do your product testing, your market research study, you try to cross all the T's and put the dots on everything because you don't want to be caught out. Okay, this is my favorite one, Mentos. They actually advertise that it's freshly picked gum. Now, can you believe that? Somebody in the advertising or the marketing department actually thought this was actually green washing or green marketing, and we would actually get more environmentally friendly people to buy a product. Absolutely dumbest idea ever, because this is a classic example of greenwashing where you put a lot of green on it, you put a lot of forest trees and everything else and claim to be green or perceived to be green, where even the plastic that's made or anything, nothing about Mentos on that package was fresh or green than any other product they've sold before this time. This was also caught out by other people as well, and they had a massive issue in terms of how not to promote things. We see a lot of people using all these kind of logos and endorsements. You know, the company might be 100% certified, pure and organic, biodegradable product lines, things of that sort. So make sure that if you're doing that and if you're using those products and logos and endorsements or accreditation, make sure it stands up to the product and the service that you offer as well. The last thing you want is to have this on a piece of paper and then which you cannot back it up for that particular product or services. So make sure you do that. One of the favorite examples I've got is Volkswagen. We all know what happened to Volkswagen. They claimed their cars to be greener than anything else on the planet. Diesel cars were greener than anything else on the planet, and they advertise it like this. You know, you've got everything in there, and you know, it's a classic example of corporate greed. As in advertising or marketing, as you say it, it's let's fake it till we make it. And they probably tried that for a number of years, and we all know what happened afterwards. They rigged the testing, they put a computer chip inside it so that the emission level comes down or it records as negligible kind of thing as well. And they've had massive lawsuits in all over the world, including the US, Europe, Australia, and some of the Southeast Asian countries as well. They've had a massive issue with their brand reputation. A lot of heads did roll, right from productions to the CEOs, and it was a debacle to manage. However, I would say that Volkswagen has resurrected from that situation and is probably looking at doing a little bit better. But, you know, I would not trust a car or anything that comes out of Volkswagen or their parent company lineup, because they've lied to us so many times in the past that it really makes me wonder what exactly are they selling and whether anything they sell is the truth or not. Now, this actually goes to the core message saying this is what you do not want to do, because people, consumers and governments and policymakers actually notice these things. And the more you do these kind of silly things with silly mistakes, the more trust is going to erode from your brand or product. So make sure you don't do that, right? So let's see of what exactly sustainable marketing should be. As I said, it's all the stuff that all good businesses say it's important, but fail to really deliver every single day. We know that it's coming to an end, like the earth or the world is coming to an end. And then we are going to be meeting brand new people every day whose thinking is going to change. Consumers are changing their minds, consumers are changing their behaviors, and we need to change our behaviors and our product and services based on that as well. And that comes to the core of sustainable marketing. You need to make sure that you back it up from the actions that you do. Okay, just give me a second. So, as I said, sustainable marketing is great as long as you do it right. Now, the important part is you need to do it, but you need to do it right. So the essence of sustainable marketing is that you position your brand as an active figure in the environmental or societal issue. You have a lot of issues in environmental thing, like you say, emissions, for example, or planting more trees, zero waste, reusable kind of thing. So you need to make sure that you need to pinpoint a topic of conversation that's going to stick in people's mind. What it does is it actually humanizes your brand messages and creates another reason why customers should choose your product over your competition, right? Everyone strives to have a USP, a unique selling proposition. Now, if in marketing or businesses in general, you would want to rechange that USP or recharge that USP every single time or every few months, because customers actually see that and say, okay, now this aligns to me. I'm doing some sustainable things. I'm actually looking after my society or my community. I'm going to go to that brand, especially like in times like these, like COVID situation. You would find that a lot of small and small and medium businesses are helping out the community. In Australia, in Melbourne, there are companies like distilleries who actually are pumping out sanitizers, right? Giving away free masks and other things as well. Now, if I am a consumer and if I was not buying their product or service, I'll be inclined to do that when it finishes or next time I buy the product, because I think the mindset is changed that, this company is responsible. This company has shown us some character. Let's support them in any way we can. But do not underestimate the commitment needed to participate in sustainable initiatives, right? It can be a costly affair. It can be a culture-changing affair where you actually need to think it through. It's not an overnight decision. So these are not simply buzzwords or hot topics. These are programs that should be dedicated. You need to have a program manager. It should be a top-down approach or a grassroots approach that you do as well. So you just got to make sure that you are understanding the concepts or understanding how things should be done. So as I said, is your brand willing to put its money where your mouth is? And that's the real commitment that we're actually taking out from that. Just give me a second. Okay, let's continue on that one. Okay, let's look at one of the best examples of sustainable marketing or sustainable initiatives that I've come across, and let's hope that you agree on that part. Now, everybody knows Lego. Lego is a company that makes bricks. It's been there for probably more than 50, 100 years kind of thing. I think 50 years plus kind of thing. And we all know that they're plastic bricks and it's a reusable kind of thing as well. However, it's a massive organization. They do a lot of business all over the world, and it's very popular. So being a leader in their industry, they had to do something. They actually made a sustainable materials target. There's a strategy for 2030, right? That we are going to be 100% sustainable. You can go to the website, go to lego.com or lego.com.au, wherever you are. And there on their homepage, you will see the strategy Sustainable Material 2030. This was developed, I think, back in 2017 or 16, right? So it's a stage approach. You can't do it overnight, as I said. You need to do it stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, identify those things and do it. Now let's see what they've done. So what they said is by 2030, all our material that we use would be sustainable and environmentally friendly. So rather than using plastic, they're actually now a lot of materials from Lego, where it's made from, is from sugarcane plant, right? So it's a plant-based alternative. They've had a lot of research and R&D based on that, and it's actually surprising to see that it works, you know, and they're actually fulfilling the promise on that probably but before 2030 as well. They have got a target for sustainable packaging by 2025. So you know how we've got the plastic packaging inside the box that you see? All of that is going to be sustainable packaging. Brilliant idea. You know, it takes time to change a production line. It takes time to change a product line items kind of thing to be in sync with that. But you have 2 or 5 years time to do that. And that's where your thinking aligns to it as well. They have a target. They've actually reduced the carbon footprint. They absolutely are brilliant. They use 100% renewable energy, right? So this is like a model citizen behavior where you actually are doing everything right and you're actually investing on those technologies and you're early adopters on things as well. Sorry. Okay. One of the most important part as well is Lego. If you are like me, I've got a child who's 10 years old and I've got heaps of Legos. I've got 2 boxes worth of Legos. So they're probably they're more than 10,000 bricks that I have. What they said, they did a marketing campaign that do not let it go to waste. So as you would normally think that a toy you would have bought for your kids when they were young, if they stopped using it, you would normally give it to someone else, or you can actually throw it in the bin because you're not using it. They actually did a campaign saying, do not let it go to waste, right? Because we do not want more plastic to be recycled. You might want to store them for future generations. Now, as we all know, I've got Lego bricks which are nearly 10 years old, right? Nothing happens to them. They're absolutely as they were even today. So they did a program called Lego Replay. And they said, if you've got Legos, and because you bought such an expensive piece of product, keep it. You might want to come back to it probably in the next 10 years. Maybe when your kids are teenagers, you might want to play with them, or you might want to actually pass it to their kids or to your neighbor's kids or something of that sort. So it's a positive impact that actually encompasses the entire thinking of the industry and the company, where it's actually worthwhile supporting something like this. Now, you can actually go and buy Lego knockoffs made in different countries, which are probably more flimsy material, or they might be costing 20–30% less. But looking at what they do and how they invest their money, I would probably want to pay the extra 10 or 20% premium and buy an original Lego product, because they're actually supporting the environment, they're actually looking after the planet, and actually they're having good messages come across as well. Okay, so that's one of the best examples that I thought that I might share with you, because, you know, as an entire whole company setup, I think it is important that you understand this as well. So the why is a decision that's sustainable, and you also need to ask the question, how are you going to do it? You know, you have to ask the question, why are we not doing something? And if we're not doing something, why is that? Or if we're doing something, how are we doing it? What does it impact us as well? So many consumers are eager to support businesses that are embracing the challenges of present and anticipating the changes in the future. demonstrating to your customers that this is what exactly we are doing, and we're inclined to change with you and align with your beliefs as well. I would want to do that, and I want to and I want to be innovative on that aspect as well. So it's always a question saying, okay, I'm doing something like this, or my company is doing something like this. Is it the right message that we're putting across? As we know, like especially in times like COVID, people are much more inclined, or they get really excited for companies or who have empathy, who have done programs to support the community in difficult times. And you build a perception of connecting to the brand as well. So, you make sure that if you are doing any activities or anything like that in terms of society, community development, supporting the community, it's all comes back to sustainable marketing as well. As we have only limited natural resources, and we need to look after that. So just need to make sure that the message is loud and clear on that. So, like, with companies big and small, where you currently work, we all will be doing something which is already into the bucket of sustainable practice, right? Now, how many of you, or I probably can't see you, so it's probably the wrong way to ask this, many of you would have seen a footer on the email address is a company policy, which we used to say, do not think twice before printing this email. It would save a lot of trees, and it was in green. And then you had your disclaimer of privacy and other things as well. Now, that has become common practice, that you do not print emails, you just save them. So those are the things that it actually says, that if you're doing something, you need to highlight them. So let's say your company just installed a few new solar panels on its roof for manufacturing or your corporate office. You are going to actually save some money in your energy bill, right? Like, government might give you subsidy, you might be actually saving on your electricity. Why don't you tell your customers about it? You might think it's a small thing, do they really care? I can tell you they absolutely care, and they would absolutely be delighted to know that the company they are working with or supporting or buying products from are actually doing the right thing. So it doesn't have to be that, oh, we are going towards 100% renewable energy. No, I'm not saying to do that. But you can do a press release and say, hey, did you know that, we just installed a solar plant, and, majority of the power consumption is going to come that, and we actually support the solar technology and things of that sort. So alternative sources of energy you're going to be using, and there are heaps of messages that you can actually use on that front. Now, because you're senior managers, if you're accountants or marketing managers or certified management accountants, we in the CMA program, we actually teach a lot of marketing, but there's a lot of overlap. As senior managers, you always come on the table where anything to do with finance, whether it's a marketing budget, whether it's a sales project or a capital expenditure project, you always have a seat on the table. Now, the advice that I've got is that you have to be in the box to think outside the box. Very important, right? If I'm working in a telecommunication company, I can think outside the box for the company I'm working for. I can't think outside the box for pharmaceuticals if I'm not working in the pharmaceutical industry. So as you see, you need to be in the box to think outside the box is a very good line that you should probably, I've got it on my notice board at work. And always kind of think on those lines as well, because you are in that hot seat as well. So let's look at some of the sustainable practices that you actually might be doing or might be employing, which are worthwhile looking at. So, okay, everybody in today's world would be doing e-billing. It's very rare that you actually send out paper invoicing. So if you're using e-billing or emailing the invoices to your customer, you can actually say that, we are reducing paper waste. We are being more sustainable minded because we're actually using e-billing. So please don't ask us for paper invoicing. I know that a lot of banks in Australia and some of the energy companies in Australia have gone completely e-billing. If you actually want a statement or an electricity bill in the post, it's actually going to cost you more. I think 90 or 95% or probably more would have an email address or access to an email or an online account. So it actually works quite well. So that's something that you can think of. If you've got a manufacturing unit, you most certainly would be doing recycling. You know, you might have a recycling program, you might be having scrap programs kind of thing as well. So, you know, that could be a message at the bottom of the email saying, you know, our manufacturing unit recycles 80% of waste. Shipping and packing needs. You probably are using recycled paper products. You probably are using environmentally friendly products. You know, you might not be aware of that, but you might want to ask the questions, you know, how are we actually packaging this? Do we use this? You know, if you're not doing it, why not try to get recycled paper products for packaging? Supply chain, you know, are you using ethical sourcing? Now, I know a lot of small to medium companies are actually, without noticing, are actually undertaking ethical sourcing practices. They want to buy products from the right supplier. They want to buy products from people who are not employing child labor and things of that sort. And they're doing it with a conscience kind of thing as well. So if you're using that, make sure you actually support that and publicize, like solar on the roof, renewable energies. So you have all of that information, and you just need to pinpoint that and make sure the marketing department actually pinpoints it out to the customer, saying, hey guys, we're actually doing this. So types of initiatives that you probably might have: sustainable manufacturing, carbon neutral, water conservation, recycle, and zero waste policy, local regional productions, fair wages, as I said before. So that comes to the end of the kind of presentation per se, but I'll take questions at the end, but a few takeaways from this, you know. A sustainable marketing strategy works best when it adapts and complements the overall corporate structure, right? So important to note that it actually should complement it. It's not a one-stop fix. You know, it's not a spot fix. It's not a short-term thing. It's a long-term thing. And it then actually should involve all levels of marketing and promotions, that all elements should be actually tying together. Think of the Lego example when you actually think of sustainable marketing, saying this is how they actually do it. And that's actually throughout the company life cycle as well. For any marketing activity, we all know the 4 P's of marketing: product, price, place, promotion, right? We need to make sure that the thinking of sustainable marketing should be approached for all of these 4 elements as well. If you do that, that actually will give you a good marketing strategy when you think of it. The consumer target segmentation is effective, and you actually better tailor marketing efforts to consumers that align to your ideology as well. So give an example of, say, Lego. If you are looking at environment friendly products, or you are looking at social some social issues kind of thing, you know, you might want to market your products there as well. So it depends. It actually gives you another segmentation level and increase your market share for your existing products as well. Physical products can be made more sustainable through considering ways to minimize use of material, which actually negatively impacts the production process, maximize the efficiency and the distribution process as well. Now, packaging changes, such as encouraging reusable bags. You can also have tighter packaging to product ratio. Also, there are different ways to actually impact the environment as well. So the way you think of it is, any packaging that you actually have currently, like in Australia, the supermarkets do not use single-use plastic bags. They've banned it. They were banned in a couple of states in Australia for the probably last 4 or 5 years. Some of the major states, like in Melbourne, in Victoria, was just banned 2 years ago. So they're catching up with the trend as well. But again, you know, you're making more sustainable decisions on that front as well. Sustainable goods can be more expensive to produce than conventional alternatives, such as a resultant potential higher cost for raw materials, methods of productions, and renewable resources. This should be taken into account especially when you're developing the branding, the product lifecycle, the marketing mix, and the marketing segment as well. If so, in a nutshell, what this point actually means is that you will come to a conclusion sooner or later that this is going to be an expensive affair, or this is going to cost a bit more because it's going to be adding on top of that existing marketing budget. Make sure how you can recoup that. Can you sell more of your stuff? Can you put different segmentation markets of that? Maybe there's a different product use for the existing products as well. A mix of promotional mediums is best to effectively and efficiently to reach the target market with a consistent branding approach and call to action. One of the big mistakes that people do is when they send out these marketing, it is more about advertising, not marketing per se. What that means is most of the things that we saw with some of the products like Fiji Water and the nappies, it was mainly product level marketing. They were call to actions saying that, oh, buy my product because it's sustainable or it's environmentally friendly. But do you actually need to say that, hey, not only this product, but all our products are doing something or the other which aligns to you. So make sure you check out some other things as well. And there should be a call to action for everything that you do in marketing or advertising, saying that, prefer me to someone else because we are actually doing the right thing. So, there's to sum it up, there's a very narrow line between success and failure. Even if unintended, the slightest mistake in brand communication can cause considerable loss of trust among your target group. Consequently, a number of factors needed to be considered to ensure sustainable marketing is received as intended. As you say, McDonald's example, Volkswagen example, there are a lot of examples that quite a lot of big companies have got it wrong. A lot of SMEs have got it right. And you need to think before you embark on this journey as well. That's the end of the presentation. Now we'll open it up to some questions. Let me close this share screen to start with. And let's look at we've got some questions on the chat that came to me. And a few questions here as well. Okay, so an anonymous attendee is asking me, oh, by the way, I won't be saying names of you people because we'll be recording it, and for privacy reasons, we don't do that. Okay, truth in marketing, is it possible? Look, I think it's absolutely possible, truth in marketing, because you are not upselling or you're not deceiving a person. You need to actually think about the product or service that you market as the best you can tell the truth. For example, say, if you have an energy drink, what is it actually going to do? You can't oversell your product. You can't undersell your product because it's going to impact your marketing and your efforts in sales as well. You need to be as truthful as possible, but you do not break or bend the rules as much as that it hurts your own target market as well. Thank you for the question. Lego replay. If you keep old Lego pieces for your grandchildren, then how will the company get future sales and profits? Great question. Lego has so many different varieties and versions of products. They come up with new stuff every single day. What I've got nearly 10,000 pieces from my son's younger days, and he still plays with them. But because it's a constant play and it's constantly within your environment, whenever you see a new Lego set, you might want to do it. Now, they've got Lego sets not only for children, but they've got for adults as well. You can build a space station. It's a little bit more complicated. You can have, what you may call that, robotics built on Legos as well. It's called Lego robotics. So there are a lot of new stuff that actually sees throughout the life cycle, not just when you're a child, but even when you are growing older. My son is 10 years old now. Sometimes we take out the Lego pieces and actually open them up and play with them for a few hours every another week. Just because it's quite engrossed. He's so engrossed on that, and he actually enjoys it quite a bit as well. So the answer to the question is that the company is actually expanding to new markets. If you look at the cross section for the new product and new development kind of thing, and they're actually making sure that you are constantly using the product every year and you're not throwing it away. If you don't throw things away, you're probably going to use it or someone else is going to use it. Now, if I open my Lego box or you open your Lego box after 5 years, you might think saying, oh, geez, I've made a lot of things from this, but I might go and buy something new because it's got some new attachments, it's got new shapes on it, and you keep accumulating on that. Thank you for the question. Are you saying that McDonald's moving away from plastic straws is a bad thing? Not at all. That was absolutely a great idea, a great initiative that you need to move away from plastic straws. But however, the way it was executed by using paper alternative, it actually goes to general waste, was a bad thing. Plastics is considered as bad. I certainly do believe that there's a lot more we can do in terms of reducing the use of plastic. It pollutes the ocean, it harms the environment, it's not biodegradable. There has to be a lot more research and development money put into that front in terms of how things should be recycled or reused as well. So McDonald's did, with the right intention, they did absolutely fantastic when they launched the product. But they got caught out because somebody would not have thought that this probably would have come to that stage that putting it in general waste and going to the tip would be such a bad idea. So, based on that, it's just make sure that, you think it through from all different angles as well. Okay, I've got another question is, what's the difference, what difference can sustainable marketing universities make to the environment? Universities are big institutions, right? No matter where in the world you go, the universities give us the knowledge and the power and everything else to think proactively. However, a lot of universities are taking proactive steps. Like we have nearly 4 or 5 different campuses that I've been to in Australia and Melbourne. Like for example, Monash Caulfield campus is 100% renewable energy. La Trobe University in Australia, they are having a green campus. All their energy needs are being met by renewable energy as well. A lot of universities also have gone down the path that they do not actually give you a printed version of the notes. You need to pay or need to request for them, but everything is done online, so it actually reduces the need for paper-based products as well. So, of course, universities or any institution, big or small, has a role to play in the terms of they have to be sustainable, because if you are not, believe me, sooner or later you'll be singled out. You'll be singled out saying that, hey, everybody else is doing it. How come you guys are not doing it and you're just chasing profits? So, it makes it really interesting proposition. It's even more important in a lot of developing countries as well, because it's always is a negative impact to the bottom line as how much can you actually afford to spend on such initiatives. But what I can say is that, Rome was not built in a day. So you need to make sure that you have small steps taken to ensure that you've got a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan in place to look at different aspects of sustainability coming through. And that's what I would encourage for all of you to do as well. Okay, got another question here. If as accountants, we would have limited, sorry, just rephrase that. As accountants, we would have limited influence to marketing departments and their budgets. What are your suggestions of influencing these colleagues? Look, I've been on both sides. I've been into the marketing department. I've been into the finance department as well. And one thing I can say is that in today's complex organization structures, you have a lot of cross-pollination. You have a lot of cross-functional teams. So I'm not going to go in a meeting and start saying we need more sustainable practices or what's the sustainable message on this. It's not about that. It should not be about that. what I'm asking you to do is to change the mindset of some of the people who do not believe in this. So as if you are part of a cross-functional team, you're looking at, say, setting up marketing budgets, or you're analyzing variances for advertising that was spent in the last year or what wasn't there. What I'm asking you to do is, you are on the table. Can you ask the question saying, hey, are we actually highlighting any of our sustainable practices? Do we actually have any sustainable practices that we can actually highlight? And if we are not, then is it a good idea to do that? Because we might attract a few more customers, but not only that, we would be moral citizens, and we'll be actually supporting a community. So it's always going to be a tricky situation where you yourself are not wholly or solely dependent on that part of the business. However, with the cross-function teams in place, you have a greater role to play. You are in the seat to ask the question right. I think we're running out of time, and there are no more questions. So thank you very much, everyone. What we do is I will certainly send out a recording for this webinar to everyone tomorrow. So if you were not able to see it in full, or you want to go through the presentation again, you probably will be able to do that. Make sure that you tune into the CMA Webline website. We have few more webinars coming up. We've got a virtual drinks for members coming up in August, on 7th of August. So if you haven't registered yet, it's a new format of virtual drinks sitting on your desk on Zoom. Make sure you enroll for that one as well. Thank you very much, and we'll see you until next time. Cheers. Bye.